What's up? This is Ellie Einhorn. Welcome back to the Talkhouse podcast. Today I'm joined by
Nick Dawson, editor-in-chief of Talkhouse Film. It is good to see you.
It's good to see you. I haven't seen you since the football.
Since the football, England, geographically connected to the country of my birth, eventually, through great hardship, beating Colombia.
That was a hell of a game.
Did you see that tweet? Somebody was like, I can't believe we got beaten by a nation that eats
beans on toast.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw it. And I'll be seeing it all the way to the game next Saturday.
But you know what? We don't have beans on toast, but we have boots on toast.
Wow. Okay. Well, that perfectly brings us to our show today. Another fantastic Talkhouse conversation between filmmaker Reinaldo Marcus Green and the one and only Boots Riley.
The man wears a hat like nobody else.
Hey, he's going full Pharrell on this one.
Stylish hat wearer. You will see that on the Talkhouse website. You'll see that on Instagram. Go check it out. Dude's got hats for days.
He's also got a new movie for days, and this is blowing the fuck up.
Yeah, Sorry to Bother You is a big, big deal. We were very lucky to get in on the ground floor. I recorded this conversation at the Sundance Film Festival in a hotel lobby with some nice music in the background. But yeah, this is me.
I thought it was a nice accompaniment.
I tried to get the music turned off, but the fact that they started it halfway through the conversation, a little bit tough. But it was a great conversation. Two guys who knew each other kind of from the Sundance system. Ray went through the labs, so did Boots. Ray had short films there. Boots went there. Well, we'll hear that whole story, but he took an unconventional route.
He did. Now, many of our listeners here at Talkhouse, and most people in general, are going to know Boots Riley as the leader of The Coup. Not necessarily as a filmmaker, but as a rapper. And I mean, this is a guy who's put out tracks with titles like The Guillotine and My Favorite Mutiny. Boots is a very, very political lyricist.
Yeah, both these guys, in very different ways, are incredibly political filmmakers. Sorry to Bother You is this like wild satire about race, about society, about the modern world, really, about the way we live our lives. And Monsters and Men, Ray's movie, is a very serious film about race and the relationship between the police and the black community. And both of them take their conversations to new and exciting and challenging places.
Nick, it's July 5th as we're recording this intro, and it has been really exciting to watch Sorry to Bother You just garner more and more and more hype before it drops this week. I'm also really looking forward to Monsters and Men coming out this October.
Yeah, both these guys are really here to stay. Super impressive films, very different films. I'm very excited for what they have. Of course, we know, like, as of just like a week or two ago, Ray is now going to be directing The Big Blow, which is a movie about the legendary boxer Jack Johnson, which will be produced by none other than
Ridley motherfucking Scott.
Yep, we're definitely going to be seeing a lot more of him.
Very exciting stuff. Now, Boots and Ray chop it up about a lot of things. We hear about the very different journeys to get each of these films made.
Yeah, Boots had a long and unconventional journey, and
which included, parenthetically, Dave Eggers and an LP.
Yeah. Not the artist LP, but an LP, a long-playing record. And Ray, well, he'll tell us all about it, but his was much shorter but still very challenging.
They also get into the financial realities of being an indie filmmaker in 2018.
Yeah, the word broke comes up quite a bit.
It sure does on both sides.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we also hear about partying with Idris Elba.
And, Ray talks about potential dream project of I'm not going to ruin it, but let's just say 007 in the house. Hopefully.
I also love the story about Boots trying and failing to illegally download Final Draft.
He's a good guy. He plays by the rules.
Yep.
Yeah. And of course, like on the subject of the internet, the problems that the internet and social media and how that gets in the way of creativity. It's a recurrent theme on these podcasts that we record.
Well, Nick, today's conversation kicks off with a topic that I feel like almost anybody who's been to Sundance can speak to.
Completely. Going there and the stress of trying to find a distributor, of trying to get your movie sold. These guys did to big distributors. It's a success story, but it's still a very tense time.
Should we roll it?
Let's roll the tape.
Here's Ray Green kicking things off.
I was a little stressed, I'm not going to lie, just coming to the festival. And of course, you just want to enjoy it. You're a filmmaker, you're here at Sundance. And I just couldn't relax like the first few days. And I was like, wait,
I tried to
this is
get
crazy.
drunk, but it hit me the wrong way. Because I was like, oh yeah, cool, fuck, man, I drink. And it just got me more.
Yeah, no.
That's where I'm calling up Mark Anglin, the sales agent, at 3 a.m, like stressed out and drunk.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't work.
Yeah, so I just couldn't let go. It's funny because we premiered at Eccles on Friday. And you hear stories about filmmakers selling their movie, distributors leaving the theater and getting deals, and then it was quiet. It's a little quiet. And I don't know if they were getting calls and other people were circling. I don't know. I didn't tell me the details of how all the distributors kind of, which distributors were interested. So I don't really know the details of that. But we had a party Friday night, and Idris Elba was at our party dancing, and I was like, yeah, that's cool, man. I was just like, yeah, give me some water. I was like, man, it just I was dancing at my party, and my wife was like, she was like, I'm going in the back. I don't know about you, and it was hilarious because I just couldn't relax, man. It was just like, man, I don't know if it's just the pressure of my first film. I don't know, film.
It's hard because you can't do anything to change what people are going to think about it. With me, since I'm a performer. If I'm in front of a crowd, I can okay, they seem to respond to this instead of that. We're gonna do more of this right now. And then, okay, we're cutting this song right here. We're going to that other song we usually don't play. We're doing that, or whatever. Or, okay, we gotta get more hype. Fuck it, I'm gonna do a flip. Something getting them, but with the film, you're just sitting there. There's nothing you can do. You can't change this edit. Okay, let me get this, and so I was physically, tense, and, my girlfriend tried to grab my hand. I snatched it away.
It's hilarious. It's don't touch me, don't touch me. That's cool.
So, yeah, that was pretty crazy right there, yeah.
That would be amazing. I was to think about ways to even take the film audience response one step further. If there was a way to have smell come into the audience, or you have the scene with the grass and you smell the dirt, or you smell the pine tar on the bat, or whatever it is, to bring you one step closer. Or I know they do sometimes you can get composers to do live composition with the film. I think that would be such an amazing experience to sort of really, really place you. Not having seen your film, do you think that's something that?
Well, so in the movie, I did the soundtrack, which is just all the diegetic stuff. So me and my band, The Coup, we did that. But the score is done by Tune Yards, and that would be amazing. So it wouldn't be fun for me to. I wouldn't want to, because our stuff has words in it, so it wouldn't. That was something we dealt with. Now, a lot of times we used to get stuff placed in movies, and I'd be like, why are they going to use it if they're going to make it where you can't really hear what I'm saying, And then I realized, because it can get distracting and stuff. So I wouldn't do a live situation like that with the Coup doing the songs over the movie, because then you wouldn't see the movie. But it would be cool for the Tune Yard stuff, because her stuff it's vocals but no lyrics.
That would be amazing.
And so yeah, they could do that. That would be cool. But it might be interesting for somebody to make a movie where you had the controls of the edit right there. Maybe you had 3 people at a board, and somebody being okay, this scene isn't working. Get to the next one.
It's oversaturated,
Yeah. Turn up the reds
out,
and that.
Fade out in the middle of the scene. Just fast forward.
Yeah, turn up the reds and that.
Yeah,
Okay,
time lapse. We need it's playing slow right now.
Yeah.
Just let me just get to the end.
Yeah.
That's
go
hilarious.
to that second take instead.
That's funny. So can you just talk about the timeline about I know I've heard
it's
stories
been a while.
about it.
I started, let's see, I downloaded Final Draft in 2011.
Legally or
well, I tried to do it illegally, but it's harder to do. You need all kinds of codes and all that kind of stuff. And then you don't want to start writing something and then it doesn't, then you lose those pages. So, that's the reason why I did it legally. Then, but yeah, that first scene, in the movie is the first scene I ever wrote. And I wrote that. I finished it in 2012. But had no connection to anyone in the industry. The only people I knew, I'd done a show with David Cross, and somebody told me that Brian Posehn and Patton Oswalt were fans. So I was like, okay. Just kind of thinking about it in strategic way. So, but still I didn't know anything. I got it to David Cross first. He said he had planned to not actually read it, but his assistant was house sitting the day that the package came because he had said he wanted it the real paper. So she read it and then was like, "You got to read this." So really lucky that she was there, because then I was able to put his name. He was like, "Yeah, just this is actually hilarious. Use my name." Because being a musician, I might have more contacts. For instance, I knew Danny Glover, but he was just like, "You're this dude. You're my friend's son. Yeah, like you're not a filmmaker or whatever." I mean, he never said that, but I know that's where And so with if you do music, people are like, "Yeah, okay, you're a rapper. Of course, you want to do a movie. You also want to start a Waffle House, and you want to build a skyscraper." You're not. They more think it's probably not good. So it was harder to get people to actually read it. But then David Cross, being like, David Cross is down, people were like, "Really? Okay." And because David Cross is not the first person you think of as just being a fan of the coup. Whereas, just that's how maybe racism works. Like, if I had been like, "Oh, Mahershala Ali likes it," people be like, "Oh, yeah, okay. He's an actor. He's from Oakland. You know what I'm saying?"
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Like, yeah, he's just down with you,
Yeah.
And so it made people open it. But in the meantime, I was broke. And I'd made an album that was supposed to go along with the script, even though I didn't know. I thought maybe I wasn't going to be able to get it made, and I just put the script out, and that would be like complementing that original album. And went for a couple years, ran into Dave Eggers just on the street in San Francisco. Well, he was with my boy J. Otto Siebold, who did if people see the movie, he did all the titles and a lot of the fonts. Like we were for production design, we replaced the fonts on. So that's how weird we were getting on like signs, And I said, "Hey, I might put this script out on the internet. Could you read this and just give me some notes?" Because I wanted to be in my mind, I was like, it's going to be on historical record that I wrote this script. Because I spent so much time on it. I want people to just know. And for me, people reading the script, the way I wrote it, with the descriptions, I wrote it so that they felt like they were watching it. And like, I had jokes in the descriptions. Like, there's a scene where Tessa's character is twirling a sign for a sign store. So her sign says signs. Yeah. And the store says signs. And so in the description, I said, apparently they're selling signs. So like I had extra lines all throughout my script that eventually I had to take down when it was like, how do we get this script shorter? I was like, okay, I know how to do it. But it helped with people reading the script.
It because they felt immersed in that.
Yeah. Anyway, so Dave Eggers read it. He was like, "Hey, you got to let me help you with this." Wow. And he put it out as its own paperback book in 2014. I actually think that a lot of people read McSweeney's. The paperback book was packaged with the quarterly. So I've seen things come out since then where I was like, "Oh, this person, they read my script."
Yeah.
That was the danger of it, but without doing that, I don't think I would have generated because once I was able to say it was published on McSweeney's, then that gave it even another level besides David Cross. Mm-hmm. It was like, okay, somebody who's considered a great writer is co-signing you.
Yeah.
You know, and came here to the Sundance Festival with books in hand, meeting people on the bus, trying to sneak into parties, and meet people, you know, all that kind of stuff. And with the imprint I left from that, I applied to the Writers Lab, got in. Next year, did the Directors Lab. Sundance brought us through Catalyst as well in between those two, and we met all the funders that funded the movie through that.
Through Catalyst. It's great.
Yeah. Then going through the labs also obviously added a certain amount of
Legitimacy to the project.
You know, so when you're raising funds, when you're talking to actors, things like that. But yeah, I had to go around. Initially, I had to go around agencies to get to the actors.
Yeah.
Before, like, so for instance, I had written a letter to Tessa a year before that I didn't get an answer from. And then later, you know, her management was like, hey, we found this letter you wrote to Tessa. Does she have the part? You know, and yeah, so when I finally saw her do the chemistry read, I knew like she was Detroit. And anyway, so yeah, it was pretty long, drawn out situation altogether. 7 years from the time that I decided I was gonna write the script.
Wow.
To now. But, you know, some of those years were spent promoting and trying to make money off an album and touring and stuff like that. So
It's great.
yeah. How about you?
We had a very fast, sort of accelerated timeline. We had a short film called Stop in 2015, which I was not thinking about making into a feature, but somehow, with one of the actors who was a cop in the film, I got into we started talking about the Eric Garner case in Staten Island, just from being from Staten Island. One thing led to another, and we got into a pretty heated discussion, and that conversation like stayed with me for like 6 months. So at that point, I was like, oh, okay. This is, this was a world that I thought I could continue. I just didn't know how to stay in the world. The short worked at 9 minutes, so why should I stretch it out and make it, 90 minutes? I didn't see a world where that existed. And then when this conversation happened to me, I thought, okay, this is really interesting. This perspective is pretty interesting, and we hadn't seen it. At least I hadn't seen it. And that's how like the triptych structure was born. But yeah, so I wrote the script about 6 months after June or something like that of 2015. And that little short film.
You work fast.
No, it was crazy. It was I mean, I had to, because my wife was about to say, if this ain't gonna work, we gotta find a way. And I was like, "Boo, just hold on." I was still in film school, so that was my third year film, that little short film, and that short played everywhere. Like I made it for $500, and it played like in places that I would never ever would have imagined that people were responding to it, like Deep South and like Iceland and Australia. And I was like, wait, this is like what it's a young black man getting stopped by the police. Like, why are people asking for my short film? So I knew that there was an audience for it. But then, of course, there were films that were kind of, similar or similar worlds. And I was like, I don't want it to be like anything else. I don't want it to be like Crash. I don't want it to be like Fruitvale Station. Those are movies that were great, got their acclaim, have been done. How do I make it different in a way that, is mine and can add to the conversation, rather than just like, okay, this is another movie that we've seen before. And so I think the triptych approach was one way that we, kind of were able to bring out the perspective and kind of do that. And that first year we basically spent developing the script. I met my creative producers, Elizabeth Lodge and Josh Penn from the Department of Motion Pictures, and they had done this little movie called Beasts of a Southern Wild, which just got out there in like a huge way. I remember that movie, and I remember saying like, who are these like New Orleans, like how did they, and that movie went everywhere. Went to Sundance, went to Cannes, it played. And I was just very impressed with how they took a little film and were able to like really, they took it all the way to the White House. They took it to the Oscars. And I thought, they complimented me and my style. I think they seem like genuine people. And of course, you hear different things about, they don't, it's a production company with money or no money. And they were a production company that didn't have any financing. So they were just truly creative producers in that sense. And they helped me to get into sort of like the institutional programs. So we got a Spike Lee Fund and CineReach and Tribeca and San Francisco Film Society, but they really helped like with the application and getting it out there and kind of like the real grassroots campaign. So we cobbled up enough money, maybe 50 or 60,000 in the year and a half, just trying to get, little bits to put together, enough of a package. And then once we had that package, my agent came on. And once I got an agent, Craig Castell, WME, he, like, honestly, the acceleration process I met Craig a year ago today, like, this week. Like, he was at Sundance last year is when he became my agent. And the second that happened, all of a sudden, the same folks we were already talking to or had seen and knew about the project, all of a sudden started paying attention, like, oh, okay, like, we're like, we just met you, it was like, it was sort of interesting once somebody of a certain caliber validates your project, all of a sudden the ears listen a little closer. And
some of that makes sense in the sense that there's millions of things out there, so you got to figure out what to spend your time reading.
100%. 100%. And then that was it. We sat down with our investors, the folks sight unseen who ended up coming on and doing the project and at Tribeca this year. And so we took the project to the director's lab this summer in June. And the day I got back from the lab, we started prep. And we shot in September. We finished. Last day was September 24th. And then it was basically a race. Wow. I mean, literally, like
I
you
wish
said,
I could work as fast as you.
No. It's not recommended. You know what I mean? It's not recommended. I have some extra pounds that definitely got put on in the last few months and lost a few more hair follicles. But I mean, it needed to happen for this kind of film. I truly felt this way. You meet all these investors, you meet all these people. They're like, yeah, we're gonna do it, and it falls apart. And I just had this weird feeling of like, if we don't hit this window right now, that like, yeah, we'll do it in the spring. Like something by spring, anything could happen. And other movies that are kind of like it or tackling it, and then the movie just wouldn't happen. And so I was like, I think with an open door, we got to sprint through this thing right now. And that's kind of was the approach I, was able to convince them that we had a real shot at getting into Sundance this year. And it wasn't contingent upon it, but it was like, this is a great platform for this kind of film. I mean, where else do you really take it in terms of getting a sale? It's hard. Yeah. Like, there are amazing festivals in the world, like Tribeca and South by, and like those are amazing festivals, but not that many films get bought out of those festivals. So in terms of like being able to get a sale for this kind of content, I thought Sundance was the best platform for it. So
that's beautiful that was able to happen. We finished our movie at the end of July, July 29th or something like that. And then, so I've been in post since then until like a week and a half before this. But some of that was, I had to make the soundtrack. I had made these things beforehand, but then after actually seeing what we shot, I was like, okay, that feeling is not. So we made this stuff, but also, I'm slow at writing lyrics. And I was like, fuck, I got to write 14 songs while spending 10 hours a day editing first and then do it. So by about October, I was like, because we had to turn in everything for the sound mixing, like at the beginning of December. And I was like, okay, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to do. So I was like, okay. This first song, how many seconds does it have to be in there? 28 seconds. Okay, I'm about to write 28 seconds of lyrics that go right here. So right now, the soundtrack still I have to go back and expand all the songs
that's
or whatever.
Crazy. So you were just...
I was like, okay, exactly gaps. What is it? Because, like, for me, like I writing lyrics, I go sit someplace, I throw my phone somewhere so that, because what'll happen is if I got my phone, I'm like checking shit, like, what did anybody say anything about the movie? Yeah. Oh, what are people talking? Oh, people saying I don't hang out with them anymore. Okay, man, I'm about to hit you. I'm doing this, all that type of shit. Yeah. And just any like little thing that takes me another 20 minutes to get back to where I am. So I usually have to like kind of sequester myself, and I was not able to do that. So I'm still working on the movie in a certain extent.
Yeah, and
To
is
a
that
certain
happening
extent.
right after this festival?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
right
yeah.
back in?
Just
Great.
just to make them full songs, you know.
Great. I gotta get an album. I want to sign Boots Riley album.
Yeah,
I
and
gotta
then
get one of those.
and Tune Yards came through too. I can't wait to hear. I want their score on vinyl because it's like all this hawketing, like what like what hawketing is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then just crazy instruments that they put in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Exciting. I'm sure I'm going to be I'm going to ask what everybody asks me, which is, obviously I know exactly what's next for you, but what is next for Boots Riley? What is
Well, obviously,
finishing
promoting
the
this.
film?
I spent so much time on it. I got to promote the hell out of this movie to make sure that it has the impact that it needs to have. But I got, I went to film school 20-something years ago and dropped out because we got a record deal, but still living 20 years as a disgruntled, failed film student, watching movies and feeling like, there were things that I love and what I would do better, and like kind of studying like what people do, what were people's processes. And so along with that came like 20 years of ideas, like people are hitting me about doing other people's scripts or whatever, and other things, and that's good for the money, but I'm like, fuck, I've been broke this long.
Yeah, I feel the same.
You
might as well.
Yeah, I might as well do the thing I want to do.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense.
And so I think that's probably where it's going to be. There might be like something that I could do, like if I was going to collaborate with someone on some other idea that I didn't have, but I got lots of crazy ideas already. So yeah,
It's great.
Before we go, what's next for you?
What's next for me is Boots Riley's "Sorry to Bother You" at 5:30 at Mark Theater. I know exactly where it's going to be, but no, I mean, like you said, I've been broke for so long, and I owe so much to Sally Mae, and her and I have to sit down and have a real conversation about how we're gonna tackle this.
Well, I'm sure you got
this loan.
I'm sure you got all kind of stuff. I mean, your brother does TV,
Yeah.
right? And so he probably makes a good living doing that.
He does. I think he wants to do film, and the reality of like independent filmmaking, at least at that time, there wasn't as much TV, and so to break in, it was like to get in, you have to get in. And now 7 years later, so now he's like, okay, I think he wants to come back and, and.
But so as far as money, is that an option for you?
I think, yeah, I mean, it's always an option. I mean, somebody came to me with, season finale of Game of Thrones, like now we're talking, what I mean? But like, I'm in a slightly different situation where I've got a son and a wife, and I can't bounce around doing an episode here and an episode there. So, I need to be a little bit more strategic in how I sort of map out a little bit of a longer game plan. So, I mean, if, Cary Fukunaga did season 1 True Detective, like if something like that comes on my plate or I'm able to create it, like that's definitely more of the path rather than like the one-offs here and there.
Yeah.
And I also feel like I could put a stamp on it. It could be something that's like, it's more about the vision than just like,
It must be hard going into like doing one episode or something. Like, what can you can't give the actors any different motivation than they already have.
Yeah, exactly. And the showrunners really run it. And
so it's like you're a babysitter or something.
A little bit. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple different ways to earn a living now, which is great. At least now I think Sundance is providing that. A little bit of a platform for folks to say, hey, like we're out here, we're making stuff and pay attention. So meetings are coming that weren't happening before. So hopefully those meetings will materialize with, like you said, I have a lot of years of ideas that I want to get off my chest. And I'm like, I'm going to just keep doing those until somebody comes to me with something that's like undeniable. Like, okay, you can't say no to this because this is like, this is dope. I'm doing James Bond with, Idris. Like, I grew up watching that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. And until then, it's like, let me just make all this kind of crazy stuff that's in my head, original ideas, and and just, keep the voice going.
Tight.
So, Boots, this was a pleasure,
Man,
and I can't wait
pleasure
to
talking to
can't
you
wait
too.
to can't wait to see the film and support
We've been in
you.
the same room a lot,
Yeah.
but never got to really
But
have this
I will be
conversation.
championing the film after Sundance as well. So I'm just happy to support you in the process.
Man, me as well. I'm really interested in seeing this movie. Hopefully, you'll be doing another screening somewhere soon that I can go check out.
Neon's gonna put it out. So
when are they putting it out?
I think the plan is fall, but again, anything could happen. That gets shifted.
Oh, going for that Oscar.
I don't know about listen. Knock on wood. We're just going for. Listen, my mom ain't coming to Park City. And that is just the reality of that. Like, she doesn't leave her hometown, so the fact that my mom will be able to get popcorn and soda and sit in a theater and watch it, whether it screens once or screens 10,000 times, like, she's gonna have an opportunity to do that. And she's a hard audience to reach, so for her to be able to get that opportunity, hopefully other folks will come out and support. That's really what it comes out, supporting each other and hopefully the groundswell, grassroots, that conversation.
Yeah. I do have one interview question to ask you. Were there any scenes as far as getting them to work with the actors? Were there any scenes that, as you were shooting them, it took a while to get it to the place that you thought worked?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. The dinner scene in the film was what inspired the movie. It was a conversation I had with my cop friend. And always in the script, everybody that read the script, it was a problematic thing. They were like, "Oh, he's contradicting himself," and it never really. I don't know if it was ever written to please people. So it was like people were having a weird reaction in the script when they were hearing it. I personally think it's one of the more powerful moments in the film, and I stuck to my guns with that. There were a lot of folks that were trying to get me to change that or to do stuff to make it. I said, "Listen, I had the conversation. You can't, I literally had the conversation.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me what that experience was like for me. I'm not going to change. Like, that is the essence of the movie, was the awkwardness of this conversation. But I had never shot a scene with more than 2 characters before. So that was a 4-character scene. I had Nicole Bahari, who's an excellent actress, Cassie Freeman and Don. And so it was just like, how do we orchestrate this really awkward thing? I had a conversation it was with one person. And so now we're fictionalizing it and making it, a little bit more of like, a couples thing. And is it going to have the same, is it going to resonate the same, as it did with me in that conversation? So that was, the good thing is that we took it to the director's lab and we were able to workshop it. And I saw what John David did at the lab and was like, whoa, this guy, nobody really knows about him yet. Of course, if you watch Ballers, like, he's the man on that show. But I hadn't even seen Ballers, so I don't have HBO. I'm a cord cutter, so I sign on for Game of Thrones and I sign off. As soon as that show's done.
I miss when they used to have those tubes you could get from people on the street that would get you the free cable.
I know.
I think that's the reason why everybody has cable now is because the free cable people hooked it up and then they switched to digital and then everybody was hooked.
No,
and they
it's
had
crazy.
To get
My dad used to get those boxes. I don't know where he got them from. $300 or whatever. Just get all those channels and then they zap the box, and you get just, Z's. You have to get another box. But yeah, that was a challenge. That scene was a challenge, but it was more of a challenge to actually believe that I can pull it off because everybody was telling me to change it. And then when everybody's telling you to change it, you're like, man, maybe I should change it. It's not just one person. We're talking like a few people that were like, it's not working.
And so so John David helped to...
He just helped to bring out the right tone of how to do it. He just brought his own thing through the research he actually did a lot of ride-alongs with the Brooklyn police, did a lot of talking to them and offlining with the cops. So he felt like he became an officer. I think he truly believed it. And it's interesting. It'd be interesting to do something like this with him about his true experience. Obviously we got to chat a little bit, on set, but then he had to go right back. He was here for 2 days and he's back to Ballers. So, to really talk about that experience for him, I think it was a really eye-opening experience. He was talking about, seeing people bleed out and, doing these, ride-alongs. And he was like, yeah, I saw somebody getting shot in the neck and blood just just coming out of the neck, and like how calm these officers were, how, involved they were with the community relations. Now, he was with a specific unit within Bed-Stuy, which was primarily African-American police. So, I don't know if that speaks to the whole force, but his experience felt like very true to his character, and I thought really helped to shape that scene. I would throw that back to you. Was there something in particular within your film that
You know what? With all the crazy stuff that's going on in the movie, and which is very grounded by the performances of all these folks. The hardest scene was, and you haven't seen it yet. There's a bedroom scene after. It's hard to say it without spoiling it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just a conversation that's between Lakeith's character Cassius and Tessa's character Detroit, really trying to figure out what that was. That was like the thing we spent more takes on than anything, and just kind of playing with it and feeling it out. Yeah, that's with all the crazy stuff that's going on. That was the main performance that I felt we needed to mess with, and it may have been in the writing, and like some of my writing was while we were filming. People would say stuff, and I'd be like, "That sounds stupid. Did I write that?"
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, "Okay, try this." Or whatever. We try different things. Sometimes we do a silent take, like do the scene without any lines, or mix stuff up and do, so there was a lot of playing around that had to do with that, maybe in everything that we shot, and still kind of playing with that. But yeah, that scene, that one conversation between them two, kind of figuring out some things about themselves.
I got one more question for you. I think it's a brilliant title. I don't know anything about how you came to the title, but I'm so curious. I think it's just, I don't know. I could read so much into what it is, but it's catchy. It's, I don't know. It's just a great title. I'm just curious about it.
Just what you say when you're a telemarketer. Often, and what's funny is originally it sounded like when I read it sounded kind of like a Judd Apatow film name. Sorry to bother you.
Yeah.
Produced by Judd Apatow. And so I was like, there must be a hit name then.
That's great. Yeah.
Even though the movie is nowhere near that aesthetic or anything like that. And it also could mean a few things. So on the title of the original album, it was like, got all these things to say that might disrupt and that's kind of what the film is. It may disrupt your view of how the world works. And so sorry to bother you.
That's great.
And thinking of that's something I should say now. Because we already did an album called Sorry to Bother You, the new soundtrack is called The Sun Exploding, and it relates to stuff that's talked about in the movie.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to you, man. This is a beautiful thing.
All right. Thanks, bro.
It is a beautiful thing. You are a beautiful man. Sorry to bother you in theaters now. Go check it out.
Check it out. Also, make sure to check out Reinaldo Marcus Green's writing for the Talkhouse.
Yeah, he has a handful of written pieces. He was, of course, on our Oscar roundtable conversation a couple of months ago. Before Monsters and Men comes out in October, you got to be up to speed on your Ray Green, man.
And don't forget that Tune Yards, a.k.a. Meryl Garbus, has joined us twice for conversations with Laurie Anderson.
Yeah, those episodes are awesome.
Powerful stuff that ended up seeing them collaborate.
We bring people together.
We do. We try. This week, listeners, we have a bumper 2 episodes for you. So you're hearing this on a Tuesday. On Thursday, Tim Kinsella, he of Joan of Arc, and Devendra Banhart have a project together covering each other's music that they'll be talking about right here on the Talkhouse podcast.
That's a pretty good episode, too.
Pretty good shit.
Yeah.
You can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever fine podcasts are purveyed.
Yeah, that's a lot of places now.
You can catch behind-the-scenes pictures and quotes on Talkhouse's Twitter,
Instagram,
Facebook.
and of course, just go check out all the awesome stuff that we have on the website. And while you're there, maybe like hit up YouTube as well. We got stuff there.
We've
right?
got full video episodes of the podcast there, Nick.
It's magical.
Magical.
What we do is magical. Thank you to Mark Yoshizumi, who co-produced this episode, and apologies for me for recording it in the way that I did. I did my best.
Nick, you did a hell of a job.
Thank you. Thank you.
If I don't see you before at the office, I'll see you for the footy.
Okay. Cup final!